I'll say it now, all protocols observed. A very good morning to all of you. And thank you very much for the opportunity to join you on this August occasion on behalf of the German Embassy. I am very happy that Germany is very strongly associated and affiliated with this Kenya Innovation Week, which I hear is an innovation in itself because it happens for the first time. This inaugural Kenya Innovation Week provides an opportunity for us to plug into your vision of enabling innovation for socio-economic development. The German government is most keen to contribute to your broad approach of defining innovation as change that adds value. Germany is a country with basically no natural resources. We have developed into what we are today, Europe's largest economy and the world's second largest exporter, only by technological innovation and by the development of skills and talent. This is how we have come to understand innovation and technology as the most important drivers of economic growth and sustainable development in order to create jobs and prosperity. We believe that innovation, which often comes hand in hand with digital transformation, offers significant opportunities for Kenya to leapfrog development and create decent jobs for youth. Over the years, Germany has strived to support reform processes directed to stimulate economic growth and create jobs in Kenya. Germany is committed to contributing to job creation and employment promotion for the Kenyan youth. To this end, we are active in the fields of energy, agriculture, and sustainable economic development. Innovation promotion is an important tool to ensure sustainable success in all these areas. And I would especially like to highlight our cooperation in technical vocational education and training, TVET. Germany is trying to enhance the capacity of Kenyan TVET institutions and to modernize them through the support of digitization measures, which is important not only in times of Corona. But technical cooperation and exchange in innovation is not and can never be a one-way street. The example of the successful digital payment system M-Pesa made in Kenya shows that Germany can also learn a lot from Kenya. Innovation and progress mean learning from each other and working together. For further opportunities through innovation to be leveraged, it is crucial that innovation as well as digital products and services are developed around the needs of the individual. Only then can divides between women and men, young and old, urban and rural areas be reduced and genuine socio-economic development take place. The Kenyan youth impressively demonstrate their openness to technological progress, their innovative spirit and entrepreneurial mindset to move the country forward. To foster and fully exploit this potential, it is crucial to further promote collaboration with the private sector in Kenya and in Germany, provide space for innovation, and create framework conditions for an open and creative society. Therefore, Germany in Kenya works towards a human-centric and sustainable digital innovation ecosystem in Kenya, which empowers citizens and businesses alike. Our intention is to meet this commitment by forging synergies with all the partners and key stakeholders here. We shall continue to work together to support the people of Kenya and ensure we contribute to sustainable economic development and digital transformation of this nation. I want to say it again. Thank you very much to the hosts and all partners. Good luck with this event, and let's all bring forward innovations and bring forward this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thomas. We're also privileged to work with private sector. KPMG being at the forefront of trying to help us to reflect on how we structure systematically for the progress on the innovation system. May I invite now Anastasia Kamande, who is an Associate Director for Innovation, Data and Analytics at KPMG East Africa. Welcome.
So good morning, everyone. Good morning, CS Jomo Sharu, and thank you, Thomas, for doing the good mornings. I will borrow a leaf from you. I may not remember all the names, but thank you. So today, this morning, I've been privileged to talk about why the private sector would support a national startup agenda. I'm hoping my slides will come up. Okay, and even as they come up. So I was going to cover 4 key areas. The first one is how startups contribute to economic transformation. What are the workings of a national startup ecosystem? I was going to focus on Startup India, which is a case study of India and that initiative, and what has worked there. What are the key lessons we learned from Startup India, and why support a national startup agenda? So moving on, an innovation culture catalyzes economic transformation. So when you think about innovation, you think about new products, new services, and as a result, you get new markets. Once you get these new markets, new wealth is created, and ultimately higher earnings for the economy, which therefore results in a healthy economy. So we look at Startup India. So globally, the contribution of startups to innovation and economic transformation cannot be understated. Startups add jobs at a rate of 25% annually. So these are some statistics from Crunchbase. They are major drivers of wealth creation. About USD 288 billion has been invested in startups worldwide, just looking at H1 2021. They create new markets, new livelihoods, develop and organize sectors. If you think about Kenya and you think about Uber and you think about your traditional cab driver, he used to drive his cab, he probably had his landline phone, and when he got his mobile phone, he'd call his customer and wait for his customer to come. Today we're saying that there's an Uber app, there's Little Cab. So that cab driver has transformed to a digitally literate cab driver. If you think about the customer, we all had a loyal cab driver guy who we would call to take us from point A to B. Today we're saying we have apps, and just given the Uber app alone, you trust the driver that shows up. Not because you know the driver, but because you trust the brand, Uber. So as a result, the quality of life improves for everybody. As a country, for all of us, digital inclusion and innovation in our everyday lives. So looking at Startup India as a case study, on my next slide. So this is an initiative that was started by the government of India, and it was launched on 16th January 2016. So what was the aim of that? It was to build a strong ecosystem for nurturing innovation and entrepreneurship to drive sustainable economic growth and generate large-scale employment opportunities. If you listen to Prime Minister Modi at the launch, he said, yes, we have 1 million problems, but at the same time, we have over 1 billion minds. So what has happened between 2015 and date when you look at Startup India? They've had 13-fold growth. Startups went from 4,200 in 2015 to 55,000 startups. That's one startup in every state in India. Just think about it in Kenya, if we had a startup in every county in Kenya today. They've had investors, both government and private sector investing, from 490 investors to about 4,614 investors. They have 72 unicorns to date, starting from about 8 unicorns in 2015. Now imagine the impact of all those unicorns, and we'll deep dive into one. Funding, about 70 billion in the first half of H21. And then 700 plus incubators, and this is how the startups get their funding. So the incubators will look for eligible startups, and the funding comes through the incubators. And ultimately, 30 states have established innovation policies in H1 2021 alone, based on the National Innovation Policy Framework. So on the next slide, what are some of the lessons we can learn? And we can look at, first of all, a spotlight of Oyo Rooms. So Oyo Rooms were started by a 21-year-old, Ritesh, in 2013. And it's the world's 3rd largest hospitality startup, which comprises budget hotel rooms. So the startup works in liaison with existing hotels and offers travelers vacant rooms at a cheaper price. The valuation of Oyo today is about 9 billion, and they're going for IPO in FY21. What's the differentiator? First, they operate as a light asset chain of predictable, easy to book, and low-cost hotels. They also have an operating system that uses machine learning algorithms to personalize that experience and determine what the customer requires and offer the right price recommendations. They have about 17,000 employees. So going back to the facts that we're looking at startups, wealth creation, job creation. Some of the investors at Oyo, you have SoftBank Group, you have Airbnb themselves have invested in SoftBank. So when you look at the products and services, and what's unique about this is they've gone out and understood the customers and segmented their products based on the various customers. So whether it's millennials, corporate, business travelers, what are they looking for? And you come up with a product and service that matches the particular customer segmentation. And what's very nice about Ritesh is he's now gone back to run a student entrepreneurship program in India to help other entrepreneurs grow to his level. So on my next slide, we then look at what can we learn from Startup India. It's that startup recognition mechanism. They've had over 49 regulatory amendments to ease the ecosystem for startups. Capacity building. Every year they get government officials together, and in that 1 week training, they demystify what is all this conversation around startups, innovation, incubation, and they do this every year. They have a single online portal where they then bring everything you need to know about startups, how to set them up, the tax incentives, everything you need to know about startups in one single point of reference. And when you look at the next slide, just very quickly. So what's our privileged journey with Startup India? We drafted the Startup India Action Plan. We created the Secretariat for the Fund of Funds, as well as a Secretariat for the National Advisory Council. We created the ranking system that enables them to rank startups, and we conceptualized that and set it up. We have the National Startup Awards, which is very unique because then startups are competitive across different states. You know, which startup is doing well, how do we rank them, who's winning, who's getting the awards. We enable market access. In one case, we have one startup that was interested in space. So linked them up with NASA for them to be able to figure out, you know, how does it work, what do we need to do to get this going forward. And ultimately, regulatory support. So in conclusion, on my next slide, why support a national startup agenda? Economic agenda. Wealth for everyone, new jobs, new ideas. And the reason the private sector would do this is because it helps them solve unique business problems. Nationalism. Startups are a great way to give back. There's the forward and backward linkages, you know, forward to your customer and backward to your suppliers, and ultimately wealth creation for the entire economy. And on my next slide, so Nobel laureate Shimon Peres once stated on innovation, the most important thing is to dare. Is it time for Startup Kenya? Thank you.
Thank you, Anastasia. That's private sector, and we look forward. We've already started our meetings working with the KPMG to try and shape the 10-year roadmap and some of the things we can do within the startup movement. It's my honor also to invite Mr. Bodo, whom I met online. And this is the first time after we've interacted for an entire year, the country director for GIZ. That's the power of social media.
Yeah, let me start by greeting the chief guest, Cabinet Secretary Joe Muchero, of course our hosts, the chairman of the board, dear Professor Ruben Mawanga, and my virtual friend, and we finally met today physically, the CEO of the Kenya National Innovation Agency, Dr. Tony Omwansa. Your Excellency, PS Ambassador Simon Nakuwesi, my fellow guests, Mr. Kadri Humal Ayal, Ms. Anastasia Kamande, and of course, Mr. Thomas Wimmer, my deputy ambassador. Ladies and gentlemen, all of protocols observed. I'm really very happy to be here with you today, and I wish all of you a very wonderful good morning. I'm delighted that after all these preparations, we have heard the history, we have finally reached here today, and we are now today launching the first ever Kenya Innovation Week. I stand here today as the country director of GIZ Kenya. Being part of German Development Cooperation, GIZ is an agency to implement technical cooperation programs. However, I'm not alone here from GIZ today. During the next few days, you will see many of my colleagues and our partners at this inaugural Kenya Innovation Week. We are here in force. Now you may wonder why we as GIZ are interested in the topic of innovation. Innovation is a driver of economic development. Much innovation takes place at small and medium-sized enterprises. In Kenya, SMEs contribute to over 30% of the country's GDP and account for over 80% of the new jobs in the country. Innovation is critical for delivering sustained and scalable solutions to the complex development challenges we face today. At GIZ, we see it as our mission to tackle these challenges together with you, the drivers of innovation in Kenya. The following selected examples show the potential we are exploiting within our GIZ portfolio in Kenya in the area of innovation and technology. In 2021, we set up a regional innovation call to support SMEs in the water, energy and agricultural sectors to leverage additional investment and scale their climate-friendly and resource-efficient solutions. In the energy space, for example, we are working in new forms of partnerships with finance providers and technology suppliers to provide consumer financing for energy technologies for productive use. Another initiative is promoting innovations in the e-mobility sector. And through the upcoming launch of a digital innovation hub here in Kenya, GIZ will support the creation of a one-stop shop that helps companies dynamically respond to digital challenges and to become more competitive. A recently established Digital Transformation Center here in Kenya is supporting the digital transformation of the Kenyan economy and society. For example, by strengthening digital skills and innovation in the ecosystem. Innovation can be fueled by science and technology, can entail improved ways of working with new and diverse partners, can involve new social and business models, creative financing mechanisms, or path-breaking improvements in delivering essential services and products. Innovation thrives best when facilitated by a strong enabling environment. So we take note of the different initiatives the government of Kenya has launched to support innovation and accelerate the economic development of the country. These include affirmative action programs, such as the Youth Enterprise Development Fund and the Women Enterprise Fund, as well as policies like the Kenya Micro and Small Enterprise Policy of 2020, among others. We applaud these efforts as they are needed to facilitate innovation. Most importantly, innovation does not take place in a vacuum. It happens when great minds come together, when we inspire and support each other, and when we work hand in hand to make change happen. I welcome the Kenya Innovation Week as an opportunity to do just that, and I'm looking forward to a great and inspiring event. In conclusion, German Development Cooperation in general, and we as GIZ in particular, are very proud to be here today with you as a strategic partner of the Kenya Innovation Week. I wish you a very, very fruitful week here in Nairobi. I hope that during this week, innovations will be facilitated to benefit this beautiful country, Kenya. And I really hope that this doesn't remain a single event, but that innovation goes into a movement, as Dr. Tony has expressed. Thank you very much for your attention. Asante sana.
Thank you, Mr. Bodo. I had the privilege of reaching out to Kadri Humal Ayar, and I gave her a very big topic. I said, you're going to be a keynote speaker, and I want you to talk a little bit about the Global Innovation Index. I don't know if you're going to talk about it, but welcome.
Sorry, there is need for innovation between masks and earrings, clearly. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, distinguished guests, chief guest, cabinet secretary, ICT and youth, and a good friend of Estonia, PS, and all protocols observed. The list is very long. There are so many great distinguished guests here. And thank you very much for this invitation to speak to this eminent audience on the subject of innovation in Estonia. Specifically, what Estonia has been doing for the last 3 decades and what it continues to do to be relevant on the global scale of innovation. And at this point, noting clearly that Estonia has nothing on Germany on the socio-economic leverage. But Estonia indeed has its experience to share in innovation. So since regaining independence in 1991, Estonia has been at the cutting edge of innovation, encouraged by a large part by our political grand strategy. Estonia to be a country known for trying new things, for being the test laboratory as a country where future happens earlier than elsewhere. For this, Estonia is going beyond experimenting with new policy ideas or government think tanks, having created an entire political culture centered on innovation, highlighted by the e-Estonia model. Estonia has branded itself as an innovation hub. Innovation being defined as doing something different, rather than doing better something that is already being done, opening up yet another way to do things that was not considered before. But often innovation is considered about things, based on science or technology, or creating something tangible, items into the physical world. Yet, what is more important than what gets innovated is innovation culture. Creating innovation culture can be viewed as a form of innovation, social innovation, an innovation that takes longer to take effect, demands involvement for more than the top scientists or a few outlier startups. Innovation culture, where the mindset is, anything that I don't have, I can create. Being embedded in the child's mind from early childhood, being part of upbringing and education at a nano level of the society. To become what Estonia is known for currently, indeed, the government implemented far-reaching policy innovations. Notably, many of the driving forces for Estonia to take the steps that it has taken is actually the need for economic stability and growth. We do not invent or invest in innovation from surplus, rather from a societal need. I will give 3 examples where policy innovation had far-reaching impacts on Estonia. The examples are from very common, highly relatable societal areas: taxes, elections, and education. Taxes. Estonia introduced a flat tax in 1994, becoming the first country in Europe to reject the traditional method of tax collection. As a result, Estonia ranks currently as number 1 in OECD Tax Competitiveness Index, with 99.9% compliance with taxation in the country. This kind of innovative approach to taxes became one of the precursors or favorable conditions that allowed for creation of e-residency in 2014, a program that allows non-Estonians access to Estonian, which means to European Union services, such as company formation, banking, payment processing, and taxation. While Estonian population has been stagnant for decades, as is in many countries in Europe, in the past 7 years, e-residency has created Estonia's 3rd largest town. In this town, every 5th of its residents registers a business in Estonia. That is a population of 90,000 that does not reside in Estonia, does not take up social services in Estonia, but has established 18,000 businesses that operate and bank in Estonia and pay taxes in Estonia. Elections. In 2005, Estonia became the first country to use remote voting via electronic means, meaning voting from home on a personal laptop or a computer via internet. Around the globe, election costs are frequently measured in terms of the cost per voter. Those reported figures can range from as low as €3 per vote to over €200 per vote. Following Estonian interoperability framework that was set up in 2001, chip-enabled ID and digital signature law the same year, I-voting was a logical step in the Estonian e-governance ecosystem. The Estonian I-voting was established in order to sustain and increase voter turnout by creating an additional and convenient voting channel that would be in coherence with the efficient use of the e-governance infrastructure that I just mentioned, that is already in existence. Administration of Estonian elections is rather complex. Voters are simultaneously offered multiple voting channels, like advanced voting at county centers, advanced voting in ordinary voting district committees, internet voting, in addition to on the election day paper ballot voting. The cost analysis conducted in 2017 shows that the most expensive voting channel was advanced voting on ordinary voting district committees at €20 per ballot paper. The cheapest option being I-voting, costing €2.30 per I-vote cast. Nearly 45% of Estonians use I-voting during elections. Furthermore, Estonia, as a small country, has only some 30 embassies globally. Hence, even in Kenya, just an honorary consul. Meaning that many of our estimated 10% of citizens that reside abroad would be disenfranchised during elections. I-voting statistics show that Estonians from 120 countries have participated in the past elections using their digital devices. Education. In February 1996, while the average income for the people of Estonia was just €50 per month, Estonia declared its intention to become an information society. In line with this innovative direction in policy, Estonia equipped all schools with computers by 1998 and connected the same to internet before the turn of the century. The policy that started to adjust schools for digital learning was called Tiger Leap. The intention was to leap past the conventional economies, get 10, maybe 20 years ahead. The country was one of the first countries to have widespread and accessible Wi-Fi supplied in coordination with private sector. Businesses, including restaurants, bookstores, coffee shops, as well as state libraries. Estonia was the first post-Soviet state to teach HTML coding in its elementary schools from 2012. Currently, basic robotics is taught in kindergarten. Estonia was the first country in 2015 to digitize school curriculum fully, creating cloud-based, interactive, self-verifying content that greatly enhances learning in schools and at home. Estonia was one of the few countries in 2020 that felt virtually no impact from COVID on learning, as all learning could take place on the online learning platform already fully in use and supported by the Ministry of Education. Estonia's success in education policy includes math and science achievements that have been recognized by OECD PISA tests for the past 8 years. PISA is the OECD's program for international student assessments. PISA measures 15-year-olds' ability to use their reading, mathematics, and science knowledge and skills to meet real-life challenges. Currently, Estonia continues to outperform other countries in overall PISA performance, despite relatively low expenditure on education. When Estonia started participating in PISA test, the first two consecutive results, 2006, 2009, it performed at par with OECD average results. Estonia was the top performing non-Asian country in all three subjects on PISA 2018, leading ahead of all EU counterparts. Apart from gathering accolades internationally, the true impact of Tiger Leap has been phenomenal. On the state side, Estonia has been the leader of the e-government model. Young, tech-savvy, visionary leaders continue to innovate for the benefit of the population, along with the premise of the government's e-Estonia approach that says that government business can be conducted more efficiently, more sustainably, and more democratically when it is done online. Creating citizen-centered services, making use of more and more artificial intelligence in government services, and all Estonians are comfortable with this. On private sector side, Estonia is the leader in unicorns per capita in Europe. A unicorn is a privately held startup company valued at over $1 billion US. Despite a population of 1.3 million, Estonia has been the birthplace of 7 unicorns so far. Skype in 2005, Playtech 2007, TransferWise 2015, Bolt 2018, Pipedrive 2020, Zego and ID.me both in 2021. That is more than 5 unicorns per 1 million capita. Clearly, there is support from the government to create the enabling environment for innovation. The Innovation Policy Platform, a website that tracks trends on innovation, noted about Estonia. Over 2024-2020, the government has allocated $155 million for the Entrepreneurs Development Program and Innovation Voucher Scheme, $87 million for various entrepreneurship schemes, and $12.7 million for innovation startups. Despite the strong innovation base, the activities and results, some of which I have described here, Estonia is placed only as number 21 on Global Innovation Index, which you asked me to talk about. But Kenya ranks higher in region than Estonia does in Europe. However, in another ranking, the European Innovation Scoreboard divides countries into 4 categories: innovation leaders, strong innovators, moderate innovators, and modest innovators. Sweden, Finland, Denmark, and Netherlands are innovation leaders. While the innovation performance has been improved the most in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, United Kingdom, Netherlands, and Greece over the past years. On this ranking, Estonia is a strong innovator with strengths in its population's level of education and participation in lifelong learning. Estonia has also made major progress in innovation indicators. The number of innovations in product and process of small and medium-sized companies, as well as investments into non-R&D have increased. However, R&D expenditure, especially in the private sector, is still significantly below the European Union average. To this effect, for the years 2021-2035, the development plan for research and development, innovation and entrepreneurship brings together in one development document the goals and directions related to the development of research and development, innovation and entrepreneurship. This development plan is a follow-up strategy to the Estonian R&D and innovation strategy, as well as the Estonian business growth strategy that were separate documents earlier. The new development plan is characterized by a stronger focus than before on increasing the influence of science and research and on the use of research results in solving Estonia's development needs. In Estonia, R&D functions in the interest of the Estonian society and economy. It proceeds from the needs of the society and the economy. Research institutions are motivated to undertake applied research that builds on productive cooperation with enterprises and government authorities. Research carried out for socio-economic objectives and is highly and efficiently organized. Such approach makes the structure of the economy more knowledge-intensive. Governmental grants and private sector investments are selected and managed by a smart specialization method and encourage the development of growth areas at heightened pace. The share of knowledge-intensive entrepreneurship in the economy and added value from exports has been increasing significantly. Estonia has selected sectors for specialization and heightened focus beyond our already well-known strengths in e-governance. These are in health technologies and services, cross-border cooperation aiming to solve tasks for both Estonia and the world, with, of course, information and communication technology being horizontal through all the sectors. In conclusion, as you might have already heard in my speaking, Estonia engages globally to share its success, aiming to solve matters globally. Estonia Ministry of Foreign Affairs Development Cooperation has been financing Estonian Garage 48 to share Estonian experience with 48-hour hackathons with Kenyan startups. They have one of the hackathons taking place this week, which I'm wondering if it's part of your event. OPIC, the digital learning environment, has been doing capacity building, knowledge sharing with Kenyan educational publishers in creating digital interactive learning materials, also supported by the Estonian Development Corporation. And reflecting the chairman's opening remarks, we are looking for more and mutually meaningful and impactful engagements between the two countries. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Kadri. I think that's inspirational and encouraging, and gives that us, a reason to aspire towards something. I can assure that for those who have spoken and those who will speak later, I will be in your offices as we begin the new year. It's my opportunity now to invite our PS, Ambassador Simon Nambukwesi, State Department of University Education and Research, to take over the program. Thanks.
Our chief guest this morning, who is also the Minister for Information, Communications, Technology, Youth and Innovation, the Honorable Joe Musheru, Excellencies, representatives of the Diplomatic Corps present, our keynote speaker, Madam Kadri Hamal, very excellent speech, representatives of the development partners and sponsors of organizations and agencies that partnered with Kenya, the CEO of Kenya, the chair of Kenya National Innovation Agency, Professor Ruben Marwanga, and board members, resource persons, distinguished participants and innovators, Ministry of Education officials, ladies and gentlemen. First, I want to thank the chief guest and everyone present this morning for making this an event of priority in your very busy schedule. I know there are many other things you have chosen to do, but you chose to come here to support this event, which will mark the turning point in the way we think in our country, especially in education system, working with the young people who have a lot of potential to turn things around. If I refer to what the late Professor Katama Mukangi wrote in one of his books, he said, in Africa, we try to think, and thinking is a problem. And when we think, we conclude that we should not bother ourselves because whatever we want to think about has already been thought about. Whatever we want to do has already been done up in the northern hemisphere. So we need just to wait and receive what others have come up with. So this is to make our young people with great potential to bring it forth. I bring apologies from my cabinet secretary Professor George Magoha, who is in full support of this event, but unable to attend due to exigencies of duty. He asked me to convey his gratitude to the chief guest and to all of you present for the support you've given to this event. Kenyans have a lot of potential, and I'm happy from the speeches that we've listened to, we are already being challenged. Estonia is known for innovation